are collecting stories of how COVID-19 impacted various communities in Mecklenburg County. We're so thankful to have you join us today, Bernard. Today is October 24th, 2022, and this week there are 122 cases of COVID-19 in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg County, which shows a decrease of 30% over the last 2 weeks. Therefore, for the comfort of each subject, we are not wearing masks today. And we're also having an interview outside, so we're enjoying the nice fresh air. Bernard, can you introduce yourself?
My name is Bernard Singleton, and I'm the co-founder of Nebadai Farms here in Indian Trail, North Carolina.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Can you tell us a little bit about Nebadai Farms, Bernard?
Nebadai Farm is a community-based farm, too. But what we do mainly specifically here is we started off with the Moringa project, which was for community economic development and wellness. Moringa is a super nutritionist plant and is high value in demand plant also too. So what we did was started introducing Moringa to communities in need in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area and beyond also too. But now we have moved into creating more foods that's culturally connected to the areas that we serve through our African Botanical Garden and reclaiming some of our skills through our School of Ancestral Arts.
Wow, that's amazing.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing. How long has the farms been operating?
Here at this location for the last 3 years, but in general area, I would say maybe the last 8 years.
8 years.
Yes.
And you've been involved for all of it?
Yes, from the beginning, yes.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Kind of, how did you get interested in farming?
Well, I've always been a citizen scientist
Okay.
and a bit of a plant researcher. So I always like to experiment with different plants through my travel that I encounter as I traveled around the world. I've been traveling internationally since I was about 15, 16 years old. But I like to travel for food and art. So a lot of things I encounter, when I get back in the country, try to grow them here too. So we've embarked on an ethnobotany study dealing with plants from Africa and the diaspora to showcase African botanical legacy here in the Americas too, and to reintroduce a lot of these crops to communities that's culturally connected to them in the past and regain that connection.
That's incredible.
Yes.
So you've done so much traveling. Where would you say was one of your favorite places to travel?
One of my favorite places to travel, actually, was Amsterdam and Morocco.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why were those your favorite?
Why? Because I always was a great fan of Van Gogh and Rembrandt. Too. So to have the opportunity to experience a Van Gogh and a Rembrandt in person up front, that was amazing to me. I had a passion for art from a very young age. And my first trip out of the country was actually to go to the Louvre when I was like 15.
Stop it. That's so amazing.
Yes, and like that too, because I wanted to see the Mona Lisa at the time.
Yeah.
So in my travels, I was able to see artwork from around the world and a lot of the great masters too, and just pictures I've seen in books and able to see them in real life too was a great experience.
Awesome. So I know right now this location is an Indian Trail, but you do have another location in Charlotte, correct?
Yes, we still have a plot now off of Tuckasegee Road that we'll be planning out this year too, and we're developing a new spot near Pageland, South Carolina also too, where we'll be growing on that side also too this year. It's a retreat center too, where we have like farming classes, workshops, trainings. We'll have overnight guests where you can stay too and get the full experience too. We're doing a lot of unique experimental crops out there too, and actually building that will be the permanent site of our African Botanical Garden on that location too. So we've won a design award for our garden design too. So we're actually building out a garden based on fabric design from the Kuba cloth from the Congo.
Wow.
So we're using African fabrics to design the garden beds, and so the print tells a story, the beds tell a story, and the plants tell a story.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
What is one of your favorite plants?
One of my favorite plants. That's a hard one. I love what I can do with the indigo,
Okay.
right? Because it has so many properties, right? Most people think of indigo as blue color dye, which is one of the products that we do make from it too. But working and researching the indigo, first is the cultural connection, the spiritual connection in the culture that I come from too. But there's also culinary uses also too. So we've been able to convert the indigo into extract plant spirits from the indigo, create dye from the indigo, create paint from the indigo, create cosmetics from the indigo.
Wow.
Inks from the indigo, and even using it as a seasoning and a spice.
Okay.
Also tea blends also too.
Yeah.
So, that's a plant that I'm currently working on further exploring and developing its uses to reintroduce that back to the community also too, because growing a plant, processing and value adding is what can make the difference, and specializing in plants that was grown by our ancestors here too. We actually maintain proper relations with them, also to acknowledging the sacrifice and the suffering that they went through, too, but utilizing the skills that they brought to this country with them in this generation to move forward.
Yeah. And that's an incredible endeavor to teach and to talk about what your historical roots. Who kind of comes here to learn?
Well, we have a wide audience of people and very diverse demographic come here also too, by growing this specific through our crop selection, and like I said, based on Africa's botanical legacy, it brings people from multiple different cultures. We had international trade around the world prior to the transatlantic slave trade. So a lot of plants that they eat and grow in India, similar to the plants they grow in other parts of Asia, but also similar to the plants that they grow in Africa. So they had cultural exchange between these groups all along, and those are the same groups that come to the farm all the time. We have Native Africans, we have South Indians, we have other Asian demographics, Laos, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, too. So we have a pretty diverse audience of people come out, but a lot of the plants that they eat is similar.
Yeah.
And they get to experience here fresh plants that they haven't seen since they left the country.
Wow. Do you guys sell the plants or the products, or is it community where it's given out freely?
Well, we actually pretty much just grow together and cook together.
Okay.
Like that too. We have some commodity plants that we do grow.
Okay.
One which is going to rice. I'm from the Gullah Coast of Charleston, South Carolina, in which rice, indigo, and human breeding was the 1, 2, and 3 crops there. So now we still maintain the connection with the rice along with the indigo. And so we've been able to, first we grow rice as a memory crop for a few years, but now it's expanded to now we actually produce it on a scale.
Okay.
So we actually, each year we increase the amount through experimentation to improve techniques and growing techniques that go along with it too. And through our research, now we're able to offer that service to other farmers too. There's a high demand in that niche market for locally produced rice, and most people don't assume that you can grow rice upland or here in North Carolina, but we've been able to develop and have some crops come out of this year.
That's amazing. Honestly, I've been able to see some rice fields in Thailand. I used to live there for a few years. And so usually, from my understanding, you need to have very tropical weather to grow and produce rice. But that's incredible that you guys are able to grow that.
Oh yeah. Some different rice have longer cycles, some short cycle, mid cycle, and long cycle.
Yeah.
Too, but you're able to get a crop out of your growing season here is long enough to get a crop each year. Yeah.
That's amazing. So Bernard, can you tell me a little bit about, how COVID-19 impacted you personally?
Well, impacted me personally. Well, although it was a tragic time and tragic experience, life-changing, too. I've lost several family members to COVID also, too, which was tragic in itself. But it opened my eyes a lot, too, about preparedness, the fragility of the supply chain, having fruits and vegetables on the farm during the time of COVID was affirming. The importance of growing your own food or having a plot, or at least having the skills to know how to grow your own food. When they had shortages, where limited to canned goods, we had rows and rows of food here. So, a lot of people would come here to get fresh vegetables and like that too. So it was always enough to share. Yeah. Like that too. I don't typically grow produce for market. I have the other things that I do that with, but just to have a living produce aisle on site, that when you come for experience, or we can harvest and we cook. We have a kitchen here too, so sometimes we just cook outside or prepare meals in our kitchen and just share with the members community members when they come out.
Yeah, that's amazing. Did you find that during, because of the shortages of food around, you had more people visiting the farm? Oh
yes, it was a tremendous increase also too, and one thing that came out of it too was, although there was a lot of pain, loss, and grief, there was a lot of opportunity came out of COVID. That too, right? Identifying the shortages in the supply chain, and and adapting and educating other farmers on how they could be prepared for such an emergency, because farming is a noble trade, but still have to be sustainable, right? So you have to be able to adapt to those changes in the market and things too. So just having that ability to do that is a blessing, that we have time and the creative freedom to make the change. And so, but it was a tremendous increase in people coming out, want to get out of the house. 11 acres of fresh air. You can have social distancing, right? And still is enough room to be in areas and enjoy yourself while you're out.
That's amazing.
Right.
Do you tend, during that time, did you tend to have families coming out, or was it mostly just individuals?
Lots of families.
Lots of families.
Lots of families came out.
And during the beginning of COVID, kind of the outbreak here in North Carolina, did you, with the rules and the restrictions and the isolation, were you living here on the farm?
Yes.
Yeah. So were you basically kind of just, tell me a little bit about your experience in terms of having to stay at the farm, and what did that feel like for you?
Well,
was it normal or was it out of norm?
Pretty normal.
Yeah.
It wasn't much different for me. I was able to move around and get some work done in other locations also too, because as an essential worker, we weren't forced to quarantine. But we did use all safety protocols to keep ourselves and the people around us safe also too. But it was like a regular day, pretty much, like that too. I spent a lot of days and a lot of hours a day out here.
Okay. So in terms of the work that you were doing, it didn't change that drastically?
No, it did not.
Yeah.
No.
What do you think? So now, coming out of all those restrictions,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel like you've had change, or is it still kind of the same?
Well, I think the work has changed because whereas as an increase, I pretty much actually the work has changed because a lot of those niche markets that we dealt with during the time of COVID has grown and expanded like that too. So the demand for the product is much higher. So we're in a position now of scaling production to say, for example, the moringa. Over 98% of it was imported until the supply chain got disrupted. So now more and more there's a demand for domestically supplied moringa. So it's a wide open niche market for farmers and underserved farmers especially, because the opportunity for them to be in the forefront of a market, an emerging market too, yes.
So that's kind of like a benefit. That's kind of arose from...
Right, yeah, actually it was.
Yeah.
Okay, can I take a break?
Blessings did come out of it.
Yeah, blessings did come out of it also too. The awakening and like too for myself and for others also too, because now show how things can change and how little we can have control over where our food comes from, right? So when you couldn't get that food that you took for granted on the grocery shelves, it was time to say, okay, well, one potato, you could have potato greens all summer long, so you have the nutrition that you need, and it doesn't cost much to get started. Like that too. Learning new techniques to have a lot from a little. Like that too. And less input and bigger yields. There's a lot you can do, during that time in life lessons. Like that too. If you can, 2 cans of beans, what is your limit? If you planted beans, you can have beans, unlimited beans.
Yeah, unlimited.
I still have beans from last year.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, like that too. Because
That's amazing.
Yeah, so.
That perspective, man.
Oh yeah.
It's so important to understand.
Oh yeah, like that too. So.
And I think so many people took for granted
Mm-hmm.
going to the grocery store and having everything there, but when there is a shortage,
Mm-hmm.
that's when your eyes are opened, and like you said, like this awakening of
Mm-hmm.
wow, do I have the skills to grow my own food?
Can I make a fire? Can I grow my own food? Can I skin the goat?
Yes. Yes.
In case of emergency,
Yes.
Do I have fresh eggs outside? Different things like that. That's the small steps, but just having the ability to do that is empowering in itself.
Most
Right.
definitely.
Yes.
Have you seen, in your perspective, what do you think are some long-lasting impacts of COVID? Either they could be positive or negative.
I see, unfortunately, I see a lot of reverting back to the same behaviors before COVID, too. There was a great uptick in people wanting to grow, and then it's starting to fall off now,
Really?
too, because as people discover what it takes to actually grow and what it actually takes to farm, or actually take to raise your own food. Farming is seasonal. Most of your crops come out in the summer. Winter's hot. The season can't be called off due to weather, and we can't adjust the weather to suit you. It's July. The plants don't care.
Yep.
The plants need attention. The plants need to let you know what their needs are, and you have to be there for them, regardless of the weather, regardless of how you're feeling that day. The plants don't care about your feelings, pretty much. So little things like that too. Was a great change to see that uptick, and of course some people will fall off, but a lot of people have continued and that's a good thing to see. I have great stories about people who came here and got plants and still have plants, and continue to get plants and come back for more plants. Like that too, and built a network of seed savers. Like that too. Lots of people in the collective actually save seeds now too. Starting to grow more, starting to experiment more. Skills, like we say, with the canning and preserving. Different things of that too. So it's been an uptick in that. I'm actually doing that today.
Yeah.
Yes. Harvesting some root crops and like to store and preserve also too.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah. So
How often do you work with community members? Like, do they come? Do they have a set schedule that people come, or how do people
they
get to know?
they actually lately more people with just if I schedule having a public posted a special event or different organizations group will reach out through me to my volunteer page,
Okay.
and they will come out. We just had a group of high school kids last Saturday
Ah,
here from Cross Mission to process the rest, the last of the rice that we had.
okay.
So they came and we harvest some rice and threshed and bagged about 100+ pounds of rice last weekend.
That's
Actually,
amazing.
too, with a group of high school students, and they had a good day, too. And now it's all bagged and ready to go to the mill next week.
Yeah.
Right. So
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Bernard, you are doing some incredible, impactful work, truly.
Mm-hmm.
People don't understand and realize, but food is life.
you can't build an app for food.
No, you can't.
You can't. I mean, you can build an app to manage the food or chart your progress, but you can't build an app for food. It's actually going to take some soil, some sunlight, and some effort.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
So, is that kind of, in terms of your normal routines here, it hasn't, you said you're growing a new farm in South Carolina,
Yes.
opening up that new farm.
Mhm.
Are you going to be planning to move to South Carolina, or are you going to continue at this location?
I'm going to continue at this location also, too. I actually have a farm manager coming on board
Okay.
to assist with some of my dreams and aspirations.
Yeah.
Too, I need her desperately. Too, because like I said, I do a lot of experimental crops
Yeah.
also too, so it take a lot of time.
Yeah.
And the part of farming I like most is the science and part of it too. So that's my primary interest.
That's
Also
amazing.
to what I can develop out of what's grown. So I have a great manager out managing the farm. I can spend more time in the lab.
Yeah.
Like that too, because that's my favorite place to be.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What do you do in the lab?
Oh, create new products. To try to do as much extractions, experimentation, fermentation, just developing new products and coming up with unique blends
Yeah.
and different things like that we like to do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Were there any particular experiences or stories that you would like to share with us over the last 2-3 years?
Over the last 2 or 3 years. Well, there have been some challenges being here over the last 2 or 3 years. In the beginning, it was a bit challenging being new to the neighborhood. Too, there was some resistance when we got here too. But over the last few years, things have quieted down tremendously, and like that too, and getting more involvement from neighboring, throughout the neighborhood
Yeah.
here, pretty much too. So we just attended an event last weekend with the Menhill Historical Society, and it was a beautiful day. Like it was a big change from how we started,
Yeah.
but it was great to be there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
If you don't mind sharing, totally up to you, but what kind of resistance did you have?
We had an incident of ethnic intimidation, too, right, with a neighbor here on our native farm, too. So there was guns involved,
No.
yeah, police involved, and too, it was like it was courts involved and things like that too. He was convicted actually, too. But those were some of the things that I get asked the question a lot. Why aren't there any? Why don't we have that many black farmers anymore? It's because the persecution around farming. Too, and to see that happening again even today, and in this corner where we're at, it was the same thing that was happening 60 years ago when we got here, too. But we had to stand our ground and stay on the farm. We got tools that our ancestors didn't have to protect themselves. And so it's more like, we went through a lot, too. But
So sorry, Bernard.
yeah, we went through a lot just to be here, and those are the things that cause the disconnect from the land, too. Right, the persecution, the discrimination. To the lack of opportunity, the lack of access to markets. And so being here too and having this as a model to show how we can control our own supply lines. We can come up with unique, creative ways, operate outside of that system, to grow crops that everybody else is not growing. And then that way you actually could have more control over your destiny, your markets, your value supply chain line. If you're learning to not only just grow, process, harvest, value add, and market, that's a lot for one individual, but it's something that has to be understand with all farmers now, especially now. Right, the opportunity as they arrive out of COVID is still there, and it's there to serve us. Too, and it may have been the awakening that we needed, to know the value and importance of it, and the importance of a farmer. We needed the farmers just as we needed the doctors and the nurses and other first responders and everyone else too.
100%.
The farmers. If the farmers wasn't there wouldn't be food, and they wouldn't be there to fill the gaps. There wasn't the farmers at the farmers market who were growing food locally. When you couldn't get it on a ship coming from out imported. You had farmers here growing it locally, so you still had access, So the farmers are just as important as the doctors.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Do you feel like that's gotten better for you, the persecution, or has...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I could say so.
Yeah.
Too. Obviously, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I can see, but like I said, well, what the disconnect came to, like I said, that didn't happen. Just started. That's been going on throughout our time in this country. The land was the scene of the crime, not the criminal. So we can't let the criminal discourage us from being reconnected with the land, or embracing what we develop here.
Yeah.
Too. So, and that's not my quote. It's from Leah Pearlman. Okay.
That is powerful.
Yes, so once we get past that, too, we can move forward now.
Yeah.
Me too.
Do you feel like the local community has been able to support you here more?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to hear.
Yes.
And then would there be any advice to other Black farmers if they were to hear this video? What would you say to them?
It's creativity, to stepping outside the box and trying new things. The opportunity may not be in what you think it is. It may be in a crop that your ancestors trying to send you a message to grow. Connecting with crops from my ancestors from thousands of years ago just enlighten and open up so much. To become more culturally connected to the food that you grow. Well, tomatoes not native to where we come from. Okay. But there's thousands and thousands of other plants and vegetables that's native to where we come from. Too. Growing food for your DNA and the whole world will open up to you because the ancestors will bless you abundantly. Because they will bless you because you're acknowledging them. If you disregard their sacrifice, and don't embrace, secure, and preserve their botanical legacy here. Two things will never go right. They left that gift here for us to use, and they're there to serve us if we ask.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that, Bernard.
Thank you.
I'm getting inspired sitting here. Before we started the interview, you participated in a little activity called a hand map.
Yeah.
Was there anything that stuck out to you that you would like to share from your experience?
Oh, well, from the hand map.
From the hand map? If there's nothing.
Oh well, just from the hand map. Have me thinking. So, what do I actually do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We say farmer, and like the two, but farmer wears lots of hats. Farmer is a citizen scientist, cultural preservationist, like the two ethnobotanist, like the two historian, preservation, gatekeeper, like that too, and when a movie star, actor, genius, all that good stuff. You have to be as a farmer.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
So true.
Yeah, so having those diverse skills and like that too is always beneficial. Like that too.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to honor and respect your time, Bernard, is there anything else that you want to share before we finish up?
Embrace your botanical legacy. Eat for your DNA.
Love it.
Listen to the voices of your ancestors. They are there to speak to you when you're ready to listen, and they will give you the guidance and the support that you need.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Bernard.
Thank you.